All right, let's get right into it. This explainer, it's not about making sound better or louder. It's not another enhancement. It's about making sound correct. We're going to dive into a really fundamental error in audio, one that's been around for over 150 years, and we'll talk about the mathematical breakthrough that's finally fixing it, restoring truth to what we actually hear. So, let me ask you something. What if the sound you've been listening to your whole life, I mean all of it, has been based on a 150-year-old mistake? Think about that. A fundamental contradiction baked into the very physics of sound playback. And this flaw, it's everywhere. In every single pair of headphones, every smart speaker, every huge concert system on the planet. It doesn't matter how much you paid for. Okay, so, Section 1, 150-year-old error. We're going to look at how electricity itself created a physical contradiction in sound. And you know what's wild is that this problem isn't new. It has nothing to do with digital compression or cheap earbuds. Its roots go way, way back to the very beginning of the electric age, when we completely changed the game for how sound was recorded and played back. To really get this, we've got to go back in time to Edison's phonograph. That thing was, well, it was mechanically pure. The very same stylus that carved the sound into the wax was the same one that played it back. It was a single, unified system, a perfect loop. But then electricity came along and caused what we call the Great Split. Suddenly, we're using one thing, a microphone, to record, and a totally separate thing, a loudspeaker, to play it back. And for the last 150 years, we've been living with the consequences of that split. And this, right here, is the heart of the problem. It's not just that we're using different gear. No, it's a conflict between the fundamental laws of physics. See, a microphone, it captures sound based on something called Faraday's law. But a loudspeaker, it makes sound using completely different principles, the laws of Lorentz and Ampère. And the thing is, these laws, they're not the same. They're not mirror images of each other. They're just incompatible. And that's where the error sneaks in.
So what does that actually mean for you? It means the sound wave coming out of your speaker is physically different from the wave the microphone originally captured. It's a distortion that's literally baked into the system. And I want to be really clear, this has nothing to do with quality. It's a fundamental, physical error that's been there since the very first electronic audio systems were built.
All right, so now for the solution. Section 2, the mathematical correction. Let's talk about phonosound, because what if you could build a mathematical bridge between those two separate worlds of physics? Well, that brings us to the solution. And it's not another audio gadget. It's a genuine scientific discovery called phonosound. So what is phonosound? At its core, it's a super precise mathematical formula. It's basically the one known optimal solution that fixes that mismatch between Faraday's law for recording and the laws of Lorentz and Ampère for playback. It doesn't guess, it doesn't approximate, it literally forces the loudspeaker to move in perfect physical sync with the original sound wave. It just restores the sound's original truth. Now, to really understand what this is, it's just as important to understand what it isn't. So let's be super clear. Phonosound, it is not a filter. It's not taking out certain frequencies.
And it is not an equalizer. You know, an EQ that you use to artificially boost the bass or cut the treble.
And finally, it is absolutely not a digital signal processing effect, or DSP. It doesn't add reverb or 3D sound or any of that other artificial stuff. It adds nothing. Its only job is to take away that deep physical error we've been talking about. Okay, this next part is a really big deal. Phonosound works instantly. I mean, from the very first sample of the audio signal. It doesn't need to buffer or predict what's coming next. That means it has zero, absolutely zero latency. And that's a game changer for anything live. Live streaming, gaming, broadcasting, anywhere that even a millisecond of delay just won't work. And what's cool is how flexible this correction is. You can build it into a completely analog circuit, for those high-end audiophile systems where the signal stays pure, but you can also implement it digitally. It can live right inside the chip in your smartphone, your TV, or even be applied directly by a streaming service. It works everywhere. Okay, Section 3, hearing the difference. And remember the subtitle here, this is not enhanced sound, this is corrected sound. So, the big question, what does this actually sound like? As you listen, I want you to remember something really important. You're not listening for something new that's been added, you're listening for something that's been taken away. A layer of distortion that honestly you're so used to hearing, you probably don't even notice it's there. You're listening for less error.
Maybe things just felt a little clearer, more present. You start to hear the tiny details that were buried before, like the actual texture of a saxophone reed or the metallic shimmer of a real cymbal, not just a tch sound. All those little distortions that kind of flatten out the emotion and make you tired after listening for a while, they're just gone. Voices sound more human, like the person is right there with you. It's not about being louder. It's just more real.
All right, final section. The future of sound. Removing the window to reality. Because this correction goes way, way beyond just listening to music. It's really about restoring the truth of a signal, and that's a concept that's absolutely critical in a ton of different fields.
You know, there's a great metaphor for this. Think of traditional audio like you're looking at an amazing view, but you're looking through a dirty, slightly warped window. Yeah, you can make out the landscape, you see the colors, but something's just off. Now, most audio solutions, they're all about trying to polish that glass to make it cleaner. Sound just removes the glass entirely. And once you take that barrier away, the possibilities are just huge. Think about AI voices. This removes that weird metallic sound that makes them sound so fake and tiring to listen to. Or for live concerts, it gets rid of the phase confusion that can make everything sound muddy. And then you get into really critical fields like medical ultrasound, sonar, or defense, places where getting the signal right isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely mission critical.
So it all comes down to a really simple idea. When the physics align, the emotion returns. When you finally match the physics of playback to the physics of recording, all that lost information, the tiny details, the real dynamics, the feeling, it all comes back. The biggest thing to take away from this is that for a century and a half, we've been listening to a physical mistake. Sound is the math that finally fixes it. It doesn't add a single thing, it just removes the error that was hiding the truth all along. We are the hosts of BusinessRadio.media, and we work under the guidance of our editor-in-chief to give voice to verified breakthroughs that bring technology closer to human truth. And really, the correction of this 150-year-old error in sound is a perfect example of that mission. Thanks so much for listening.